Hello and welcome, students of Europe Hotel School. In the world of hospitality, it's easy to think the job is done when the last guest leaves. But really, that's when some of the most important work actually begins. In this explainer, we are going to dive deep into post-event evaluation, a skill that is absolutely critical for your career.
Everything we're going to cover today is designed to give you practical skills, stuff you can actually use in a real hotel setting. We're going to break down how you can turn every single event into a powerful learning opportunity, using data and industry best practices to sharpen your instincts and drive real results. So picture this. The final guests have departed, the space is all cleared out, and your team is finally taking a collective sigh of relief. The event is over. But is your work really finished? Or, as the most seasoned pros in our industry know, has the most important part of your job only just begun?
And that brings us to what I love to call the overlooked opportunity. In the rush to get started on the next event, it is so easy to miss the goldmine of lessons from the one you just completed. So I want you to think of post-event evaluation not as a final chore, but as the essential bridge that takes you from good enough to truly excellent.
Okay, so what are we really talking about here? This isn't just some casual chat about what went well. It is a systematic process. The goal is to transform real experiences into practical knowledge. In the events industry, which we often call MICE, for meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, this is everything. It is how you guarantee that every event makes the next one even smarter.
So where do we start? Well, you always start with the numbers. Let's look at our first pillar, financial performance. Because while hospitality is all about creating an unforgettable experience, let's be real, it is a business at its core. Measuring commercial success isn't just important, it is the non-negotiable first step to understanding your true performance.
The very first step is simple, but it is so powerful. A direct comparison. On one side, you've got the budget and revenue forecasts you worked so hard to build during the planning phase. On the other side, you've got the final actual numbers. How close were you? The story of your event's financial health really begins right there, in the gap between those two columns.
Now this is where the story gets really interesting. By breaking down your profitability by department, event space, F&B, those extra services, you can pinpoint what truly made money. Were your food and beverage margins healthy? Did the pricing for those ancillary services hit the mark? This is a direct reflection of how effective your sales and negotiation strategies actually were.
But hey, it's not just about the money you made, it's also about the money you spent. A really thorough cost review can reveal huge opportunities for savings. Maybe you overstaffed one area, or you rented some equipment that just sat there unused. Finding these efficiencies is how you protect your profit margins for every single event in the future.
Let's be clear. A profitable event with an unhappy client is, in the long run, a failure. This brings us right to our second pillar, the client experience. Financial data tells you what happened, but it's the client feedback that tells you why it mattered. This is where we stop counting dollars and cents and we start measuring the emotional impact of our service.
Structured surveys are a great way to capture this. They give you that hard data that you can actually track over time. Now, a high, very satisfied score is fantastic, of course, but the real power is in tracking these numbers across multiple events. That's how you spot the long-term trends, both the good ones and the bad.
But data alone never tells the whole story. Just look at this. This one piece of feedback, it tells you more than a chart ever could. It pinpoints a specific strength, responsiveness under pressure, and it reveals the feeling of being supported. This is the human side of hospitality, and believe me, it is what builds loyalty.
And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Clients remember these qualities long after they've forgotten what was on the menu. They remember how your team made them feel. Were you flexible when their schedule suddenly changed? Did you solve a problem before they even knew it existed? Mastering these skills is what separates just good service from truly exceptional hospitality.
All right, we've analyzed the finances, we've heard from the client. Now it's time to turn the lens inward, on ourselves. The internal review process is where you transform all that data into shared knowledge for your team. It's how you stop making the same mistakes over and over and start building a real culture of continuous learning.
A productive debrief needs structure. Getting every department in the same room, that's step one. But the real magic happens when you create a safe, blame-free atmosphere to talk about the challenges. It's about celebrating the wins for sure, but it absolutely must end with concrete action items that answer the question, what are we going to do differently next time?
And you know, using a simple framework like this one can make those discussions incredibly productive. It forces the team to be honest and, more importantly, constructive. Just identifying that AV tech delays were a problem isn't enough. The key is defining the lesson learned, in this case, creating a new pre-event tech check protocol. That fosters accountability and drives real change.
And let's not forget, your team isn't just the people on your payroll. Your external vendors, from AV to decor to transportation, they are critical partners. Evaluating their performance is just as important. A reliable supplier network is an enormous asset, so make sure you are actively managing those relationships based on how they actually perform.
So where does all this hard work lead? Well, it leads to the final and most powerful idea: building your strategic advantage. This entire process, analyzing finances, listening to clients, and debriefing with your team, it isn't just about closing out one event. It's about systematically building a stronger, smarter organization for the future.
I want you to think of it as a continuous cycle. You plan, you deliver, and then, crucially, you reflect and evaluate. That evaluation stage directly fuels the improve and innovate step, which then makes your next planning phase that much more accurate and insightful. It's a loop that is constantly driving you towards excellence.
Over time, when you really embrace this discipline, you gain some incredibly powerful advantages. You build this amazing knowledge archive to inform all your future decisions, your forecasts become way more accurate, you manage risk better because you've learned from past challenges, and maybe most importantly, your team develops professionally, making your entire organization more agile and responsive.
So let's go all the way back to that first question. When the event ends, the work is absolutely not over. For the best professionals, for the future leaders of this industry, like you, that is the precise moment where true, lasting growth begins. Master this, and you won't just manage events, you will define excellence.